Are you proud of me? I'm back with another video or whatever, like one a week. I'm definitely trying. That's that accountability. Today, we're going to talk about things you should do or tips that I thought were important on my debt free journey. And you may think it's important on your journey. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button, though, before we get started. Join the gang because we're going to have a lot of great content coming soon. But on a debt free journey, when I was on my debt free journey, I paid off $41,000 worth of debt in 2.5 years, 2.7 years. So 2 years and 7 months. I did it when I first started. I was only making $37,000 before taxes. So like understanding why you're on this journey, what's the goal, having a strategic plan are all the important things. But we're going to get into the steps. And step number one is you actually have to want it, right? Like no one can make you want to be debt free. No one can stop you from spending. No one can stop you from buying things that you want to buy. You actually have to want to be debt free, right? Like I can give you the motivation, I can give you the steps, I can give you the tools, but the reality is you actually have to want it for yourself. So that is tip number one, step number one. Actually want to do it. Have that conversation with yourself. I think people usually ask me like, oh, how do you get started? And the real thing is like, oh, I just got tired of my own ish. Like I got tired of being in the situation. I got tired of that. Every time I had got paid, my money had to go straight to debt, had to go straight to a credit card company, straight to a car. Like I personally was spending more money paying off companies than I was actually giving myself money. So that was a turning point for me where I was just like, yeah, it's not about the work. Like I really just got tired of paying other people out of my money the moment I got paid. And that was me saying, yo, I actually want it. And having that conversation with myself to say, I got myself into this situation and now it's my responsibility to just get myself out. So number one, actually want it. The second step is understanding your why. You're going to hear this a lot and people talk about it a lot. And we talk about it in like such euphoric terms, and we're going to break it down. Understand what your why is. Why do you want it to be debt free? Really, y'all, I wanted to be debt free because I wanted to buy my apartment and I wanted to have some adult activities happening in my apartment and not in my sister's house. That was the why. Okay. That was my focus. I was like, I need to get up out of here because I need to do some things and I can't do some things or something strange for a little piece of change in my sister's house. So understand what your why is. Why do you want to be debt free? Why do you want to save? Why do you want to invest? It is okay to like have that why change also because I got my apartment. I'm creating multiple streams of income. I'm investing. I'm doing all of these things now to then have my why be met. But your why can change. And your why doesn't have to be anything fancy. Y'all know we love to talk about, oh, generational wealth. I want this for my children. Baby, I don't have no kids right now. I don't want it for my children. I want it for me, right? When I have a kid, I can change it to my why being for my kid. But right now, understanding what your why is and making sure that it is a tangible thing that you can hit. And I think sometimes we forget that. We forget to make the why tangible, right? My apartment was tangible. Buying back my time back now is tangible because I can put forth the effort to do that. Building generational wealth is not easy. It's tangible, yes, but it's really long term, right? So understanding your why and how you can achieve that within the next 2 to 3 years can really make a difference on your motivation, right? Because sometimes, honestly, the motivation is going to go. But when you learn to be consistent, your why is going to what's going to keep you consistent, right? My why kept me consistent. Y'all, I was like, I can't do no adult activities here. I got to get out of here. And it was a conversation every single time. Like, girl, you can't do no adult activities here. Okay. My why kept me going when I wasn't motivated. My why motivated me when I wasn't really that motivated to do it. So understanding what your why is. So the next step is to write it out. Y'all love to say it, out of sight, out of mind type of thing. Baby, that's not how it works. You got to pay them people back. So write it out. Write down all your debts. List them all. Your credit cards, payday loans, mortgage, car loans, Affirm, Afterpay, because y'all don't like to consider those debts, but those are actually debts. Write it all down. And here's how I list it. And you should be able to write it down so you can see it, so you know how to tackle it. I'm a numbers girl, right? I can measure my accuracy. I can measure how I'm doing on my journey when I actually sit down and write down the numbers. So start by writing down the numbers. So personally, how I do it is I do the total debt, the due date, the minimum payment, and the interest being charged on that debt. A lot of us don't know how much interest we are being charged. We are just paying it. The credit card companies are also not stupid. They put it on the absolute last page and they know you're not going to check that page. So understand, write it all out and list your interest, because then you can decide on a plan on how you want to pay off that debt. But again, the name of the debt, the amount, the total amount of the debt, the due date, the minimum payment, and the interest you're being charged. And then you want to understand your budget, right? The next step is then to understand your budget. How much money are you bringing in every month, right? How much do your expenses total? And think about your expenses as like bare minimum expenses. So think about like your mortgage, food, gas, transportation. If you could eliminate some of your subscriptions, eliminate those, but also include your subscriptions, include everything you need to pay on a monthly basis. That is a necessity. Okay, let me say that again for y'all. Include things that are necessities in your budget. We'll talk about that later, but include things that are just necessities and understand how much money you actually have after you pay off all of your monthly expenses. And that is called your golden gap. So your golden gap is going to tell you, okay, my monthly expenses is this, my income is this is how much money I'm supposed to have left over. And when you know how much money you're supposed to have left over, you can then use that money to pay off your debt. Now, let me be real. Some of us may not even have a gap. Okay. Some of us don't have a golden gap. Some of us, our golden gaps are negative. I was one of them people where my golden gaps were negative. But when you write it out, you actually can see that it's negative. And then you can work on saying, well, okay, I need to find another way to make more money. I need a new job, right? I need to do something to bring in more income, or I need to start cutting back on some of my monthly expenses to have a gap. You need a gap in order to pay off debt. You need multiple streams of income in order to pay off debt. You need some type of gap to say, I can put this money towards my debt. The next step is to decide on a strategy. So you're going to hear people talk about the avalanche method, the snowball method, and one I don't think we talk about enough, but I think is also useful, is a balance transfer. So when it comes to paying off debt, you want to decide how you want to pay off debt, right? So you can do the snowball method. And with the snowball method, you are just paying off the lowest balance first. So if you have a $1,000 balance, a $2,000 balance, and a $5,000 balance, well, you're going to put all of your extra money towards the $1,000 balance, and then the $2,000 balance and the $5,000 balance are just going to get their minimum payments. They're not getting anything extra. When you're doing any type of strategy, all of your money goes to the debt that you are focused on, and every other debt gets the minimum payment. So that's the snowball method. The avalanche method focuses on paying off the highest interest first, and sometimes that may not feel as good. So when you do the snowball method and you pay off the little balance, you like check it off. It feels good intrinsically to say like, okay, I'm checking off my small balance, and like I feel good. With the avalanche method, your highest interest might be the highest balance you have. And that's going to take longer to have that intrinsically motivating feeling. But what it's going to do is it's going to save you money in the long run on interest because you're paying it off quicker. So you have to decide which one works for you, which one is going to keep you motivated. I personally did the snowball method because most of my interest rates were about the same. And I needed that intrinsic feeling of feeling happy to make sure that I could be consistent and continue on my journey. Another one we don't talk about enough is a balance transfer. And what a balance transfer does is allows you to transfer a balance to a credit card that is going to give you 0% APR for a certain amount of months. I did one with Discover and I did one with Citibank, and I love them both. But keep in mind, you have to be disciplined when you are doing this, right? You don't want to move your balance to one card and then continue to use the other card. You also want to make sure you have a decent credit score so you can get a decent credit limit and have that money go towards that. With the balance transfer, you do have to pay a fee, and the fee is usually between 3 to 5%. But if you are paying 28% on a credit card, the fee is most definitely worth it. So you can also think about doing a balance transfer, but like I said, please be disciplined. Y'all heard me say I did 2, and that was because I fumbled on the first one. I did not fumble on the second one. So I'm letting you know now, if you do not have the discipline, do not do it. If you feel like you're in a space where you can be disciplined enough to close the card that you're moving the balance over to and just pay that one balance, do it. I personally, what I did was when I did my balance transfer, I didn't even activate the card, y'all, like at all. Like I got the card for the balance transfer. I literally didn't even open it. I put it in my drawer, and paid the balance off. I still don't even use that card. I don't use the Discover card or the Citibank card. I use it to pay off. It served its purpose. The moment I would have activated that card and put it in my wallet, oh baby, it would have been game over. Okay, I would have been in more debt than I was. But understanding that you need to be disciplined in order to do the balance transfer. The next step, get started, honey. you gotta put your foot on the gas, right? So if you decided that, yo, I really want this, I really want to get out of debt, you understood what your why was, you listed out all of your debt, you consulted and understood what your budget is, and you found out that you have room for money to pay off more debt, or you found out that you needed to get a side hustle, well then baby, it's time to get started. Right? Like you got to put your foot on the gas. And for some, the foot on the gas may mean starting a side hustle and making that money and taking that money and putting it towards your debt. Foot on the gas may be saying, okay, like I have a plan and I know what my plan is. But you have to know what your plan is and you have to put your foot on the gas to actually get started. So you get started and you get started with a plan, right? So I knew if I wanted off $10,000 in 1 year, I knew that I need to pay off a certain amount every month and every check. Understand what your plan is and then execute on the plan. And my personal tip is going to be give yourself grace. You did not accumulate this debt in a day. You did not accumulate this debt in a month. You did not accumulate these habits in a week. These are compounding habits that you have learned over time. So in order to break them, it's going to take time. We live in a very much microwavable society, microwavable culture where we feel like, yo, I did step one. I want to be done. But the reality is you got to do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you'll see some progress. So give yourself grace. Understand mistakes are going to happen. One of my things was, y'all, I started my debt-free journey. No lie. 2 months into the journey, I had to buy a car. Understand mistakes are going to happen, but understand it starts here, right? Like the debt-free journey legit starts here, y'all. It's not about it's about the numbers, but the reality is the numbers are gonna come easy like this. Like you're like, I know my debts, I know my interest rates, I know everything that I have to pay off. That is the easy part. The hardest part is being consistent when you do not want to. The hardest part is going out and side hustling when you're tired. The hardest part is literally saying, I see all these people outside having fun, living their best lives, and I feel like I'm missing out. You are not missing out. Like in the least bit, you're not missing out, right? Your journey is yours. You need to own it, celebrate it when you can, but understand you got to stay down until it's time to come up. and at that point, that's not the time for you to be worrying about what everybody else is doing. I surrounded myself with people on Instagram who understood what the fuck I was going through, who was like, yo, I'm also paying off debt and it's not easy. And I don't have anybody in my friend space, in my real friend space who is also doing it. So talk to the people on Instagram, talk to people on social media. It's okay. But give yourself grace, plan and execute. Don't make any excuses. Don't make any excuses. The vision has to be greater than your excuses. I don't know why this saying has been in my head, y'all, for I'm saying it every day to myself too. Your vision has to be greater than your excuses. Your excuses will stop the vision. And then you're going to come back next year wondering why you didn't make it too far. Well, baby, you let the excuses be more important to you than the vision and the goal that you have for yourself. So as we go into the new year, think about what you want to accomplish. Think about what you want to see. Think about what you want to do for yourself. What is your vision, right? And how can we continue to work on that vision and cultivate that vision without making excuses as to why we can't accomplish it? Because the reality is we can do anything we want to do. We just have to want to do it. So those are my tips for getting started on your debt-free journey. It's not easy. I don't glorify or I don't make it seem like the debt-free journey is easy. Baby, that thing was tough. There were times where I cried. There were times where I wanted to give up. There are times where I took breaks, right? But I knew that eventually it would pay off. And baby, I'm sitting comfortable. I'm not where I want to be. I know I still have work to do, but I know for damn sure I am more comfortable than I was before. I also know for damn sure a lot of my money now stays for me to either save and invest, and I don't have to put it into the pockets of other people because I owe them money. So understand your why, actually get started, write down a plan, and execute on the plan. I'll see y'all in the next one.